Your expedition guide, Val Jon here. In this final episode, we journey into the ancient Mayan city of Ek Balam, a sacred ceremonial center whose name means bright star jaguar. To the Maya, the jaguar was far more than just an animal. It symbolized stealth, transformation, and the power to move between unseen worlds. It also represented versatility, adaptability, the power of choice, or the ability to be self-generative, much like how stars generate their own light and heat. Ek Balam was an interstellar sanctuary aligned with sacred astronomy and spiritual transformation. At the heart of the site rises the immense Acropolis, one of the largest structures in the Maya world, and guarding its portals and ceremonial chambers stands the colossal open-jawed Witz monster, a symbolic gateway into the underworld. To pass through it was to confront one's deepest fears, surrender illusions of control, and open to the cosmic journey into transformation and transcendence. Let's not keep the Witz monster waiting.
We're here at our final destination for this episode of Expedition into Spirit. This site is called Ek Balam, and in Maya, Ek Balam means bright star jaguar. And we know from our previous explorations that the jaguar represented paradox for the Maya, the paradox between the infinite and the finite. Well, here at Ek Balam, there's additional meanings for the jaguar in terms of versatility and power and speed and choice to be able to move in lots of different ways and directions. So just like a jaguar is able to hunt not only during the daytime, but they can also hunt at night. They can sleep in trees, they can sleep in caves. So the jaguar has this masterful kind of versatility that the Maya revered highly, because what it did was communicated a power to choose, to be able to engage in life with an absolute passion, with a spiritual force and clarity, with speed and velocity, with wisdom, with the ability to embrace paradox. So the jaguar means a lot more than just paradox. It also means choice. It means engagement fully in life. So here at Ek Balam, we're going to find out what some of that engagement actually is and how it relates to the power of choice. We've arrived at our final destination, Ek Balam, which in Mayan means bright star jaguar. And the jaguar, as we know, means paradox, that connection between the upper world and the lower world, between the infinite and the finite. But also the jaguar for the Maya represented versatility, power, speed, and also choice. The Maya also believed that the jaguar was a vehicle, a spiritual shamanic vehicle that they could tap into, and it would provide them a bridge into other dimensions, and particularly the three worlds of the upper world, the middle world, and the lower world. So it was a spirit travel kind of phenomenon into these three worlds, and the jaguar had the capability to be able to navigate its way through these three worlds. And the Maya, those who had the kind of power and the vision and the choice to be able to take the jaguar energy in, could actually move with the jaguar through those worlds. Very fascinating in terms of what was possible for the Maya in terms of their spirituality and bringing that power into their everyday lives. So the question is, how can we equate this jaguar energy in our own lives? And one of the ways that we can do it is by just grasping that the jaguar represents this versatility, this power, and more than anything, the power of choice to be able to choose which way we move in life, whether it's climbing the trees like the jaguar, or stalking the ground, or swimming the waters, or exploring the caves. All of this represents the symbolism of us having the versatility and choice to be able to move deep within ourselves, like we've experienced at some of the other sites, to be able to move into the middle world of our everyday consciousness, and to have the choice to move into the upper world of spirit. So the whole context, the whole meaning of Bright Star Jaguar is embodying this movement. The other aspect of it is that Bright Star adds something remarkable and extraordinary to the process and understanding of the Jaguar energy. Let's find out what it is. Here we are at one of the main portals at Ek Balam, and the bright star of the Bright Star Jaguar is like a portal into the celestial heavens. And here there's an opening that leads right into those heavens. And for the Maya, this bright star portal represented an inner power, a gateway into illumination, a gateway into the center of the axis of all creation, Hunab-Ku. And once through the portal, once a Maya initiate would move through the portal, which was guarded heavily by a fierce sentry that we'll meet in just a few minutes. But once they passed that sentry and they're able to move through that portal into that bright star space, they came into contact with a stellar power, a spiritual wisdom that gave them the kind of clarity to be able to be at choice in their everyday lives in a really powerful and clear way. So just like a star, a bright star shines into the heavens, into the vast void where it has no encouragement, no environment, no support, it shines of its own energy and its own intent. And that's exactly what the Maya were seeking, was the power to be able to reach inside of themselves and shine brightly into their lives, into their community, into their empire. Such an incredible distinction between the heavens above and the earth below, and how we can move through these portals into a space where we can actually access stellar phenomenon, stellar power, and bring that power down to everyday life so that it manifests in our choices and how we move inside of ourselves, how we feel about ourselves, think of ourselves, how we move with others. Do we move with grace? Do we move with courage? Do we move with wisdom? Do we move with vision? Do we move with loyalty? And to be able to choose to move that way with other people and our own communities in our modern civilized world. What an incredible opportunity it is for us to take the lessons that the Mayas are giving us and apply them in our own lives. What an incredible expedition into spirit this is. Being just a few feet away from the Bright Star Jaguar portal energizes me even more than I already am, which is already at a level I and my friends can barely endure. Part of my energy, however, is due to anticipating the soon-to-be face-to-face meeting with the fierce sentry guarding the Bright Star Jaguar portal known by the Maya as the Wits Monster. If legend has it right, we're about to either gain passage through the portal and into the spiritual embrace of Hunab-Ku, or be consumed, body and all, by the beast. Here at the top of the temple at Ek Balam, we come face to face with the fierce sentry guarding the portal, the entryway into the cosmic spiritual space of Hunab-Ku. The Wits Monster, representing our greatest fears of being consumed by the infinite. Not just consumed in terms of our physical bodies, but consumed in terms of our identity. That it's a loss of identity, a loss of self forever and forever and forever. The most primal fear that human beings have is to die and to go into infinity, never to return. So the Wits Monster represents that consuming. You can see the huge teeth on the front of the monster, lower teeth, upper teeth, and the mouth and the throat. And this sacred place represented for the Maya a test of the Mayan initiate's ability to choose to engage, to choose to walk right into the mouth of the Witz monster and be consumed by it fully. This rite of passage, this test, is what the Maya used in order to gain access to the infinite, to the Jaguar wisdom, to the Jaguar's versatility of choice. Because the power of choice, in order to be fully present in our lives, we must be unattached to either being or not being. So while Shakespeare's question is to be or not to be, the Witz monster puts before us with its huge teeth and throat the answer to the question. To be and not to be is the choice. And when we can choose our own life and when we can choose our own death, we can fully choose to be alive. So the whole message here at Ek Balam, what's really clear with the Witz monster and the huge teeth and the mouth and the throat is to be consumed, to have the ego, to have the identity be consumed, not in a way that it disappears. We still have an ego and our identity, but we're unattached to it, so we have more freedom of choice to be able to move into things that might scare our identity or cause it threat. And this is really what the Jaguar wisdom was all about, is having the versatility and the power to be able to face into life, to face into death, to face into spirit, to face into darkness, to face into anything and everything that we come into contact in our existence. An incredible rite of passage that the Maya engaged in. And those who succeeded to be willing to let go and to move into the power of choice gained access to that portal, to that stellar spiritual domain where Hunab Ku, the center axis of the cosmos, exists. For those who failed the rite of passage of the test, well, it sure looks like they were a snack for the Witz monster. You know, somehow I get the feeling for the Witz monster, I would be just a snack. A snack. Boy. Well, I guess it's all about surrender and letting go. So Ek Balam is our last destination in this episode of Expeditions into Spirit. As we leave the Yucatán Peninsula, there are 5 key lessons we take with us in our hearts. Very humbling and valuable lessons. At Chichen Itza, we learned about vision and visionary awareness and how to keep our focus on the stars and the stellar bodies and how those stellar bodies relate to our own human body of knowledge. At Uxmal, we learned about the Jaguar energy of paradox, of being able to hold the as above and the so below, and the double aspect of paradox of as within, so without. At Oshkosh, we learned about courage, being able to move into the deeper, darker forces of the below and the within, and be able to engage them so that we are empowered to be able to embrace life fully and not have fear dominate us, not have the negative forces that move inside of us invisibly limit our choices or our abilities to be fully alive. At Koba, we learned about loyalty in the ball game of life and death and what real loyalty is in terms of the loyalty to one's own heart and one's own sense of spirit and the loyalty to others and to nature, community, the world, and to the cosmos ultimately. At Ek Balam here, we learned about choice and surrendering into the mouth of the Witz monster, being willing to be consumed so that our ego and our identity is not in the way of us being fully alive and engaged and embracing what a true expedition into spirit is, which is a lifetime of full engagement, full-on presence in terms of being here and existing. What a remarkable expedition this has been. Thank you so much for joining us, and may life move through you as a grand adventure.
In this 6-part expedition series, we began with a death-defying scuba dive into a sacrificial cenote, and then explored Chichen Itza, Uxmal, Oshkosh, Koba, and finally Ek Balam. Each site offered its own unique spiritual insights that together delivered us to a very sacred place called the Grand Astrological Order, or the interstellar awareness that not only do we exist within the cosmos also exists within us. If this virtual expedition inspired you and you want to see more, give it a like and subscribe. It helps the channel grow, and I would appreciate your support greatly. See you next time here on Expeditions into Spirit.